could be your sanctuary if you're ready tonight. I know that it's all so heavy. Won't you let me inside? 'Cause I could be your sanctuary.
What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over some updates for Bitcoin, and I'm going to make a pretty important update for XYO as I didn't notice something before showing the analysis and the update that I went over for it in the last video. But anyways, to go ahead and get it started here, first off on this 12-hour chart for Bitcoin with the familiar ascending channel that I've been going over recently, with the most recent impulse up to this point, approximately 45,000. Bitcoin has seen, I mentioned in the community tab post, there's some bearish divergence forming, a bearish divergence candle printed on the chart. At this point, Bitcoin's down approximately around 10.11% at approximately 40,000. As I said in the last video, that being, according to the vector candles, the bare necessity if Bitcoin were to have seen a drawdown as it currently has. At this point, as I was saying, also it would line up with the 200 or the 50 EMA, this turquoise and purple band. It would line up roughly with this range. If we start to lose and show weakness below 40,000, then I think it could potentially draw down to as low as approximately 33 to 20 or 30,000, approximately 33 to 30,000. Also roughly lining up with the 800, 600, and 400. If it's not the 400, it's the 1,000 estimated moving average. But this EMA band down here, which actually it looked bullish back in around November. So this could also be some potential place for us to bottom out at, find a bounce on, and then quickly recover towards the upside. I think whether or not Bitcoin's already reached its local low at approximately 40,000, whether or not it goes somewhere around 33 to 30,000, or maybe even, as I said in the last video, 20-40%. Typically, if you're going back and you look at Bitcoin's history in bull market, that's the healthy retracements are always somewhere in 20 to 40%. Anything, let's put it this way, 42% sits at 25.8 thousand. So basically 26 to 25,000. If Bitcoin over the next month or two, I would say no longer than 3 at this point, with how things have been looking recently. Let's say if Bitcoin retraces down to 26,000, that's the worst case scenario. If it starts significantly closing below those values and showing weakness, then things could get pretty ugly very quickly. Although I don't think that's it's definitely not most likely. I would say that it's highly unlikely, if anything, but it is definitely possible. When it comes to the upside here, I do think right now I'm still leaning to approximately 40,000 being held. Maybe we'll see some leaks down around like approximately 38,000. With this fractal pattern that I have on here, to zoom out a little bit, try to get all of this. This is basically on the 12-hour, and this is about the most accurate fractal pattern that I can get when it comes to the bull market that I think we're going to see, as I've been going over for many months in my analysis. Now, it's definitely possible that we don't see this choppiness as I have down here. Could totally just kind of come down and smooth this out a little bit and then move up towards around like 55 to 60,000 sometime into January, early February, I think at latest. But when it comes to, as I said, just to reiterate real quick on the community tab, if 40,000 indeed is going to be the local low, I think we'll either get some type of double bottom here. We'll stagger into 40,000 and then come back up. So basically, either I think we'll get some sort of U-shaped type recovery, or we'll get something quick, more like a V-shaped type recovery here. But overall, I think currently still leaning towards, as I said, some more of a quick and rapid retracement that's not too low, but could possibly go lower, as I mentioned earlier. Here for this weekly chart, going all the way back to May of 2011, beginning Bitcoin's second cycle, everything post approximately $32 We see each of these fib retracements taken here from the bull market highs to the bear market lows, all the way up to the most recent one. The pink line being the point of emphasis here. Lining up, this is the 786. Each time, as you can see, each of these black circles, outside of the fourth one being a question at this point, whether or not it will happen. Each of these was the first time that Bitcoin, first off in January 2013, second, end of December 2016, January 2017. Each of these times, Bitcoin closing above the 786 for the first time. This third one, although, was a rough exception here. This happened in November, but although it's still basically happening in the same time, November, December, January, if you were to break it into a range, especially in a 3-month range, this is all kind of happening around November, December, January, each of these, whenever Bitcoin closes above the 786. And then outside of that, before I get to the fourth bubble, when Bitcoin ran up and saw this intermediate kind of this relief rally up to approximately 14,000 in July 2019, this was used at near precise rejection into the March crash, which is another reason to see the importance of the 786 for these retracements. But when it comes to our current situation, as Bitcoin has been moving up since around last week of October into now currently, the 786 right now sits at approximately 51,000. So seeing Bitcoin close above 50,000, 51,000, leading into the end of this month, January, I'd say probably no later than first 2 weeks of February at this point. Seeing that happen will then happen exactly as it did for the first 2 times, and like I said, roughly as it did for the third time in terms of closing above the 786, and simultaneously doing that within the same 3-month range. This weekly chart, I went over this for the first time. I believe it goes all the way back to, because before I updated this chart, this hope bubble right here, or ellipsoid, was drawn just to this area, which ended at around June, July. So I think that's when I uploaded this last, although I don't remember, but I did move it to kind of encompass this area. But anyways, this just clearly points out the Wall Street cheat sheet, psychology of market cycle you see online pretty often. And this was my take on it when I published this, likely back in around, or posted this June, July of this year. So far, it has acted out exactly as I said it was going to back then. We have now just recently entered the optimism period. You can see right here, just before the brunt of the bull market ensues, leading into the most parabolic point of the bull market would be where we are currently, assuming, factoring in with this chart, that Bitcoin closes above 50,000 within the next, basically within the next month and a half to 2 months. We'll then further confirm this. Then we'll move into, we'll move from optimism here into belief, eventually into thrill, euphoria, and then set. Even on here, we see this descending double top formation, which we'll get to here in a moment, which factors in the XYO update. In the last video, I gave the 3 price targets, with the first one being, I think at this point, beyond reasonable, is 50 cents for XYO. And when it comes to the last 2 price ranges, these actually, as I went over in the last video, you can deduce these from data in the chart, but $1 to $2 and around $4.50 to $6.50. The USD pair for Bitcoin, which the one here on this chart is the Bitcoin pair. The USD pair, although it projects $1 to $2, and this Bitcoin pair projects both. At highest, it could be $4.50 to $6.50, or $1 to $2 at the lowest. Now, what I made a mistake on in the last video is I didn't notice that I didn't realize I was not thinking about this being the most proper retracement right here to take, which would bring us towards the upper bound of this at around approximately $2. If I were to take a lower bound, so basically from the candle close to a candle high, then that creates, as you can see, the rough lower bound of this lower yellow box, around, like I said, $1 to $2. I didn't realize that I was supposed to take that because here going into Bitcoin, again, this factors in my phase cycle theory, which I'm not going to go over in depth in this video. If you're not familiar with it, if you're new to the content, first video linked as a card at the beginning of this video was the last video I posted where I went over it in depth. But anyways, Currently, we're in cycle 3 for Bitcoin. We're in phase 1 of this cycle 3, and we're in the bull market. We're towards the end of the bull market. That is part of phase 1. With the first bull market top, we see this ascending double top right here, 64 to 69,000. According to the projections out of my model or my theory, this upcoming top is going to be a descending rather than an ascending top, which would then bring, which would be why I'm taking this lower retracement right here from around this low then to August right here, because that is what lines up with what I see as my bias for Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin could extend, I could be wrong about this, and it could set an ascending top this time around, moving up to somewhere around like 260 to 280,000, which would then start to push. XYO would not just see this portion of the bull market, but then would see this final impulse right here, which would then ultimately move the fractal pattern on here up to this upper range or upper bound of $4.5 to $6.5, like I said. But the main thing that I was pointing out in the last update was that the USD pair, if you go to CoinMarketCap, they actually have the entire data for the USD pair, as TradingView doesn't here. But that the USD pair predicts $1 as a range of $1 to $2. It's somewhere around $1.30 to $1.50 to be specific, but somewhere within that range. This also lines up with the broad golden pocket of this fib retracement that's taken right here from the recent high down to the prior bear market low. Now the most broad golden pocket range you could take would be from the 382 right here up to this 618, which sits at 92 cents to $4, which encompasses basically the entire of the range I was just saying for the Bitcoin chart here. So $1 to $6.5, and the golden pocket sits at 92 cents to $4. So it's just shy of that $6.5, but it essentially captures the majority of the price target. So taking that into account, I definitely at this point think that it's almost 100% the Bitcoin, or XYO rather, is going to go somewhere around $1 to $2 rather than $4.5 to $6.5. But like I said, if let's say Bitcoin extends higher into an ascending high or ascending double top in the upcoming bull market, then I think it's definitely possible that XYO sees this final run up to this upper zone, and XYO pushes higher here on the USD chart. But lastly, just to zoom in here on this weekly chart, when it comes to, regardless of where it goes in its highs, best case scenario here is that XYO continues to trade sideways, basically right here, printing small bodied candles with some drastic upside and downside wicks. It's definitely still possible to come down to this range right about here for some wicks. Maybe even it dips the body of a candle a little bit low, then wicks down to this range, which is around 0.004 to 0.0045 at lowest. I think that would be the lowest healthy retracement for XYO to see, while it's still maintaining integrity and strength roughly above this curvilinear bear market resistance, and then bouncing towards the upside, towards the highs I was mentioning. But that was all that I wanted to go over in this video. So hopefully you enjoyed. Again, none of this is meant to be financial advice. Hopefully you're actually able to learn something and take some insight away, perhaps add to your trading scheme or whatever you would like to do with the information in this video. But it is not meant to be financial advice. By all means, don't make a decision based upon my opinion on the market and what I see in things. Do your own research, come to your conclusions, and make your own financial investments. Don't let somebody else's words out of their mouth dictate where you put your money, because it's just not a smart thing to do at the end of the day. But outside of that, everything else said and gone over. I hope you all have a blessed day.
Ooh, I'm regretting now, won't I see you forever, start to